Hello, everybody. Welcome to Freehandly Made. My name is Nisi, and this is my channel. Today is World Autism Awareness Day. I am so excited. I've had a blessed day today with the family, went out and did a little bit of sightseeing, and now we're here ready to spend some time with someone very special to me, Matthew Kenslow. He is a very smart young man. I say young man because he's younger than me. And you guys are going to get to meet him. I think he is brilliant, and he's inspiring, and he just loves people. And I think you guys will really enjoy our time with him. He's backstage awaiting his introduction. Why is this important? Why do I put so much time and effort and my resources into doing autism educational videos and put my life out there so transparent and put myself in such a vulnerable place? Awareness is so important. We've got to start educating people appropriately. There have been so many stereotypes passed down from what professionals used to think autism was, and come to find out they're wrong. And they're trying to catch all that up, and they're trying to correct all that. But unfortunately, individuals aren't catching up fast enough. So there are some of us that have put our lives in the front lines as advocates, self-advocacy, and the advocacy of others. And Matthew is definitely one of those people. Today is not just about awareness. Matthew and I are really going to share and discuss acceptance. Right now, the autistic community is really pushing really super hard for autism acceptance, because we think awareness, that has been preached for several years through many mediums, but acceptance is still severely lacking. It's lacking in the school systems. It's lacking in the workplace. It's lacking in your neighborhoods. It's lacking even in churches and other organizations. And so I reached out to Matthew and asked him if he would be willing to go live with me and allow me to interview him and share this platform with me to discuss what we're passionate about, why we're passionate, and hopefully you guys in turn will get something out of it, and that you would be willing to join in with us in advocating for us that are autistic, and help spread awareness through your example of accepting us. So with no further ado, because I am so excited, I am going to bring Matthew up here. Matthew belongs to the Royal Rangers. It's a lot like Cub Scouts, except for they include a lot of it's more church based. It's more it is actually centered around God, and they learn scriptures and things like that. So that's actually very exciting to me. We don't have anything like that where we live. Cub Scouts is the second best thing that we can do for our son, and then we pour scripture into our son ourselves. But he is a member of Royal Rangers, and he helps teach that. And so he gets to really make an impression on young people. He is also the author of the book, Juggling the Issues, Living with Asperger Syndrome. If you guys have not heard of this book, I actually have a video about this book on my playlist, and I read Matthew's letter to our son. He sent the book to us for free and personalized it just for Z. It's a great book. If you're not someone who likes to read book like in physical state, you can get it on your Kindle. You can get it on your Amazon. There's plenty of ways to get this book. And he's in college right now, earning a degree, and I'm going to let him discuss that with us, because that's a part of what he's striving for now, and I don't want to ruin it. I want to give him the floor. So without further ado, you guys, here is my friend who I adore and just love so much. Here is Matthew Kenslow. You guys give him a warm welcome. Right. Hey, Matthew, how are you? Here, I'm going to zoom us back a little bit.
I'm doing very good. Glad to be here.
Oh, I'm glad you're here too. How has your day been so far today on this special day of April 2nd, the day before, well, a couple days before Easter?
Very good. Yeah, my day's doing good.
I am actually in your time zone right now. I am in the state of Oregon visiting my mother in law. So I actually got an extra hour of sleep this morning. So, you guys, this is Matthew, and I wrote the questions that I sent you down on my notebook because I realized I have no access to it while I'm on live stream with you. And I asked you a lot of questions. I ask a lot of questions, but yet I don't like it. That's a little ironic, isn't it? So, Matthew, um, why don't you tell us briefly? I'm really excited about your book, and I know that's kind of later on in the questions, but I'm going to kind of change it up just briefly because I just love your book so much. Please share with our followers about your book, um, Juggling the Issues: Living Life with Asperger Syndrome, and what inspired you to write that book, and kind of what it's about.
Okay, well, this is my book, Juggling the Issues, Living with Asperger Syndrome, and it's an anthology or a collection of short stories. There's 29 short stories here, and I just wanted to communicate my firsthand perspective of living with Asperger Syndrome. I guess the inspiration is that I always loved writing. I used to get in trouble when I was younger for writing too much and got disciplined for that. But um, I guess I thought I was going to be destined to be an author one of these days. So I started to write a story in 2013, a fictional story, but the main character has Asperger syndrome. And then I met an agent, a Christian agent, literary agent, who suggested I go the autobiographical route first. So that's how this developed. And again, it's some are the pros and some are the cons of living with Asperger's. Also, some catharses that I have found through living with Asperger's. Like, I love volunteering, I love juggling piano and such. So that's my introduction to the book.
Oh, yes, I totally forgot about your piano playing. For those of you that don't know, Matthew Kenslow does have his own channel. I did put a link to his channel on YouTube in the description of this live stream, and he does have videos of him playing the piano, and he plays beautifully, by the way. So if you love piano, definitely check out his channel for that. And he has a lot of other really cool things on his channel. And he has a lot of cool videos of planes taking off and landing, and he can tell you what kind of plane it is. I think it's wonderful. So Matthew, how old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was about 6 years old in circa 2001.
Okay, so you were a year older than Z when Z was diagnosed. And what can you tell us about what was elementary school life for you growing up, um, having autism or having Asperger's in the classroom with your fellow students?
Well, I started in preschool, and I do remember those days, and not a lot of things happen. I was just being introduced to the world and a social environment. But the next year in kindergarten is and years following, I started to realize some things. I couldn't talk like everyone else, and that was evident while watching home videos. I wasn't as fast or quick in learning or with what the teacher is saying. Like, I always had to ask the
Mhm.
teacher for clarification when it seemed like most of my other students understood the first time round and such. I've made a lot of friends. I say that there's a lot of support with my classmates, but not with every classmate. And that kind of it started in kindergarten when some of my classmates would just say, "Go away," and "You're not playing with us, Matthew," and "You're not our friend," and such, and that really stuck with me in my heart all these for quite a long time. And I literally was trying to figure out why, why I was being viewed like this. And then other times there were people, and sometimes the same exact people, that would be nice in different times. Um, and then, growing older in elementary school, it was kind of the same. Like a lot of people seemed supportive and nice, and other people seemed to laugh and tease and call me this. One would always call me this specific name that I wouldn't want to repeat, but the same common name for people with autism and
Mhm.
such. And but I just, I guess, had perseverance and such, just continuing um, to strive my best in, you know, trying to fit in a way, like trying to be a friend, and it also helped me to like try and be quick in my mind, like understand, what other people are saying, like some other social cues like that. And I also realized that I was taking speech therapy and RSP when most of my other classmates haven't, and yeah, that helped me, but it also told me that there's just something about me that people were working on. And I feel, yeah.
Really quickly, will you explain what RSP is for some of the folks in here? Because not everybody will probably know what that is.
Sure. RSP stands for a really special person. Okay, that's what one of them told us in elementary school. It really stands for Resource Specialist Program, and it's basically like a resource class for maybe an hour or more, and it's basically like you're in a main school or classroom at a school, and then for 30, 45, 60 minutes a day, you would go over to another classroom, and it's a smaller classroom, and they would help on from speech like phonics and such, doing homework and schoolwork, doing classwork over there. um, and when I got to middle school and high school, one of the classes were actually RSP, an entire period. So it was used as a resource. It was a place to go to for tests and exams. It was more of
Right.
a quiet place.
So today, for those of you who have children like we do, like our son, that is the same thing or the same equivalent to an ESE classroom, which is exceptional student education. So that's what they've changed it to. So it's the same thing. It's just labeled differently. Um, so let's see. I already asked you that. Oh, this is one thing I wanted to ask you. Okay, so you have a video that goes along with your book explaining your love for juggling and why you juggle. Please explain to our guests on pan or in the chat why you love to juggle and how that helped you when you were young, learning how to juggle.
Okay, well, I started in probably fifth grade, all because of my aunt who loves planes, but that's in the short story where I explain more detail about that. But once I started, I started with one and then two and then three, then two with one hand and such. And it was a catharsis for me. So for me, it was like a release, but it also was something like I could do something or I could do something else besides keyboard. And when I would juggle for my friends at school and ultimately the talent show in grade six, it really helped me because a lot of people seem to notice and appreciate my dedication to juggle. So I would say that at first it was a catharsis, and it took me a lot of places. In high school, I began to go back to my elementary school to juggle for classrooms. And after a few years, I decided to use juggling as like a metaphor or an analogy, like to not give up on your passion and such. And in these like benefits or classrooms, I would, while I was talking about this, I would drop one on purpose and say, talk about, when things in life that you're juggling with drops, just bend down, pick it back up, and keep going for it. And it would create beautiful things after that, like when you don't give up on what you want to do.
Mhm. Yes, I think that's probably one of my favorite parts of your story on your journey is watching you juggling when you were younger. I can't juggle. I don't have the talent to be able to do that, but I do love those videos, and and I love how it you were able to use that for more than just the physical realm, but you use that to help explain to others your passion for not giving up and to keep pressing forward. When I was a child, Matthew, you know my story. I wasn't diagnosed till I was 43, literally right after our son, and that tends to be the story for us females. A lot of us are usually diagnosed as parents after we're trying to help get our child diagnosed. But I went through the same problems in school. I didn't understand it. Like, for instance, did you guys know that I actually flunked kindergarten and had to repeat kindergarten? Like, how do you flunk kindergarten? What was said to my parents was I was not emotionally mature enough for the first grade. Had nothing to do with whether I knew my ABCs or could count or could, write my name, which I could, but it was very messy. Everything I did was very messy. I didn't have my fine motor skills really took me a while. But that's why I flunked kindergarten. And I went into what they called modified primary, which was not first grade, but not quite kindergarten. It was in between. Very strange. And I had a hard time making friends too. A lot of times I would just play by myself. I was picked on all through school. I did. I had a hard time even all the way through high school. It wasn't as hard as when I was in elementary because I was able to start sticking up for myself. But I knew I was different and I wasn't being accepted in school by a lot of peers. But I always had that one or two friend that stuck by me. So did you have that one or two friends that stuck by you through school, Matthew, growing up?
Yeah, I would say a couple. Yeah,
And were they in Royal Rangers? Like, how when did you start Royal Rangers?
five, about five
Okay.
years old. So,
Were those friends in Royal Rangers with you?
well, probably one from school, but I've made a lot of more friends in Royal Rangers and such. So,
So I briefly described to them what Royal Rangers was, but would you explain to them what Royal Rangers is and what's your role in volunteering for that organization, and what is your goal in working with kids in Royal Rangers?
Royal Rangers is a mentoring program similar to the Boy Scouts. It was founded in 1962, and I started when I was 5. Um, in it, it's like a merit system, and we advance the ranks and earn merits, Bible merits, leadership merits, skills merits, and it's very, very fun, and you learn a lot of outdoor skills as well. And in 2013, I earned the Gold Medal of Achievement, which is an Eagle Scout equivalent. And I knew that I wanted to come back immediately after to give back and pay it forward. And so I became a commander since 2013 and been a commander ever since. And I'm just helping out boys at the ages that I once was, teaching and mentoring. In fact, nowadays I'm teaching 2 classes a week, one for the third to fifth graders and one for the grade 6 to 8. And it's all virtual for almost a year for the time being. But I guess in the future, my goal is to just stick with it. Maybe become senior commander of the outpost, or at least part, and take in more
Mm-hmm.
responsibility. But I love the extra additional training that comes with it.
Do you have any of those, or any of those kids that are in the program right now? Are any of them on the spectrum? Any of them autistic or with Aspergers or anything like that?
Yes, a few. Yeah.
And do you find that they make accommodations for those? Because our son is in Cub Scouts, and a lot of times my husband and I have to advocate for him. And they're really good with working with us, but it's like we're constantly having to remind them that we have to make some accommodations so that he can get help with doing some of the requirements there are to earning those merit badges like you guys have.
Yeah, there are some accommodations and such, but we just work go like by them and right beside them and help them out, and then they I we also help them in like fitting in and taking on leadership roles, and
Mm-hmm.
a couple of them love it once they get in the leadership role. They feel like they could do something, and they like it. So
I think that's so important, them being able to do that. I definitely know that with Z, we're constantly encouraging him to be courageous and not to mask or pretend to be something he's not, and to be a leader, not a follower. And with I think with Royal Rangers and like Cub Scouts, I think that platform kind of makes it a little easier, gives them kind of a safe place to start practicing how to do that, because it almost gives them a roadmap. Would you agree with that, Matt?
yes, yeah.
Because you did really well in the organization, obviously, because you got the equivalent of an Eagle Scout ranking and you're still working with it. And I think it's wonderful. So if you guys have kids, and you have a church in your area that has Royal Rangers, I strongly suggest you look into. Now, Royal Rangers, is that for boys and girls or just for boys?
It's just for boys, but there is a sister organization.
And what's the name of the sister organization in case any of our parents who are watching this have little girls that they want to get involved in that?
Yeah, it's Impact Girls Ministry or Girls Club, I believe. Impact Girls Ministries.
Impact Girls Ministries. I will look that up, you guys, and I will definitely put a link, because there should be a website where you can go to find any of those in your local area. If there's one being held in your local area, you should be able to find it. Hi, maybe Crazy Homestead. How are you? Let's see. I'm wondering if I should go ahead and have my daughter tested. If I remember right, your daughter is 15. Um, I mean, she's 15, so she's at the age where she can really start thinking for herself. So I guess my question would be to you as a parent, what are you looking for as far as, what are you looking for as getting, what do you want out of the diagnosis? And does she want the diagnosis because she thinks it'll help her? If she's definitely wanting to go to college and whatnot, yes, I would strongly suggest that she be assessed, and especially if she's wanting to be assessed. Sometimes just having that answer and knowing, actually have concrete knowledge that yes, you're on the spectrum, just lifts a lot of weight off of you, and you can start learning how to love who God created you to be, and learn how to not be afraid of who you are, learn how to self advocate for yourself, and learn where your place is in the world. But that's just, everybody has an opinion, and that one's mine, coming from living my whole life not knowing what was going on with me and why I was different, and then finally getting my diagnosis at 43. If I would have known a lot earlier, I think my life might have been, I won't say necessarily better, but I wouldn't have gone through, I don't think I would have gone through the identity crisis that I went through all these years. So definitely, she says, yes, she is. She thinks she has it. She wants to be. Well, if she wants to be tested, Mama, you support her 100%. You stand by her side and you go and you do what you got to do to get her tested and get her assessed 100%. And we're here to support you the whole way. If you have questions, you can always ask, and we'll do the best we can to answer any questions you have. Promise you, promise you. You have my email, and if you don't, I will get it to you. Okay. All right, Matthew. So, um, why don't you share? We've just talked about some of your achievements. what role has God played in your life as far as you being on the spectrum, and how He's led you to where you are today, and how involved is God and your relationship?
Yeah, God plays a very important role in my life. Um, I stand on the promises of God, um, the scriptures, the faith I have in the scriptures. I hide the scriptures in my heart, and it's really been giving me comfort and peace, even though sometimes it's hard to understand some things, but I just trust in God's faithfulness. I also, something that really helped me since right before middle school was the do not worry passages. All the passages about not worrying, like Matthew 6:24 to 30 or 25 to 34, as well as others like 2 Timothy 1:7 and such. So I would say that my faith in God really um, helped me understand, in the future there is a purpose. I just have to keep on relying on God, the scriptures, and keep on pushing forward and not give up on my aspirations.
I love that, and I love the fact that when you wrote the letter to our son in your book that you sent, that you included one of your favorite scriptures as well. And my son keeps, by the way, my son keeps that book very close, and he doesn't like anyone touching it without his permission. So yes, he that's a very special book to Z, and no one's allowed to touch it unless they ask first. So and he knew you were going to be on tonight. He's out playing with Daddy outside right now, but he's definitely going to be watching this. Probably Monday once we get home. He'll want to watch this live interview. So you definitely touched our son's heart, and he definitely looks at you as a role model. He's always asking, "What is Matthew up to, Mama? What's Matthew up to?" And so yeah, so we get on your channel, and we look at your channel, and he likes all the plane videos. So keep coming with the plane videos. Okay, so yes, God does play a huge role. That was one of the things that drew me to getting to know you through Facebook. That's how we first got in touch with each other, was through Facebook. We were in a group, one of the autism groups together. That's how we first met. And being a Christian myself, that's how I found out I was autistic, was because it started small when I started going back to church, and I was, going through a lot of stuff, and trying to figure out who I was. And I got baptized. I was in my 30s when I think I was 30, 33 or 34 when I got baptized. And then when we had our son, I got married to my husband and we had our son. I knew from infancy that that I didn't know what it was, but I knew my son was different, and he was just sensory sensitive, like crazy to everything. Going anywhere outside the house was difficult. And we battled until he was age 5 to finally get the answers that we needed. And in that time, I saw a lot of myself in my son, especially in the early years, like when he was in preschool, he was in daycare, and he was in kindergarten. It was like looking at a movie of myself. And I started reading scriptures. And as I was reading scriptures and really praying and just trusting the Lord and living our lives as parents, as well as figuring out who I was and who God created me to be, he just started opening doors left and right. I mean, it just started to flow a lot easier. It wasn't as hard. And I remember getting my diagnosis and a huge weight being lifted. And I just said, thank you, Lord, for finally just making all this stuff make sense. It all makes sense. And when I shared it with a friend of mine who's also a Christian, her name's Tanya. She has a daughter with Asperger's, by the way. Brilliant young woman, really musically talented. She's going to a music college down in, I think it's more central Florida. And so, she kind of always knew. And we had a little joke. I told her, I always joke with her. I'm like, I'm really like super super smart with numbers. And, when God told Noah to make that ark, he specifically said to march those animals in two by two. That's a pattern one, and it was two by two. And there's a lot of numbers in the Bible that mean a lot of things that are very important, like the number 3 and the number 5. And so we started talking about that. I said, I think the Lord has some spectrum in him himself. I mean, obviously, because he made us. And so we joke around about that a lot. And I just love how God plays a role. And I don't know if you've experienced this, Matthew, but I don't see as many autistic Christians in the community. And a matter of fact, I've been kicked out of some groups on Facebook because I'm an autistic Christian. Have you come up against that at all in your walk, as far as being in discipleship and being not just autistic, but being a Christian? I think it becomes even more complicated when you have autism and you're a Christian. What are your thoughts about that? Or have
Yeah,
you come across that?
yeah, I don't necessarily know if I've came across that, but I wouldn't be surprised that I have felt some, I don't know, some distance that people have placed because of either autism, either Christian or both, and such. And that's something I'd have to
Mhm.
think about.
I know some of the things that I've experienced is because we're so a lot of us are so literal, and there are parts of the Bible that I do have a hard time with because I'm so literal. Like, some of it is very figurative and metaphorically and whatever, and I do have a hard time wrapping my head around that. And some of the people that are in the circle, in the groups that I was a part of, I say was, I think there's only one group left on Facebook that I'm a part of. That's you're not allowed to talk about your faith at all. Um, and that is, a lot of them are very, very scientific minded, and they can't get their head wrapped around something that they can't see and they can't touch. Um, and I know for me, one of the things I had a challenge with was being so rigid and being hard to have an open mind and taking in somebody else's opinion. And so for me, trying to be a disciple for God, I'm coming across that roadblock, because that is one of the traits that some of us autistics have, is being very rigid like that. So I was just curious if you ran across that with your journey and sharing your faith with others, like I have. And we got a comment. Okay, so maybe Crazy Home says it's hard for my kids because they struggle with understanding exactly how you need faith. I've tried very hard to get them involved in church. Keep trying. Do not give up. Because I guarantee you, once they're out and they're moved in that out of the house, you planted that seed. And I promise you, my mom had to go through it with my dad, with me. My brother took it like that very easily, but like I said, I didn't rededicate my life, and I didn't accept Christ as my savior until I was 33, 34 years old. But that seed was always there. Even in my darkest moments, I was still praying, literally praying to God. So don't give up. Maybe Crazy Homestead, don't give up. Keep planting that seed in your kids. Promise you, it'll turn into fruit one of these days. Hey, Mackenzie, what message, Matthew, would you like children to hear about being autistic and being a child, and some of the challenges they may face that you and I have both faced?
Yeah, well, the number one thing is just don't give up, and also that you could do what you set your mind and heart to do. And if you ever get stressed in school or socially in the environment, just remember to take a deep breath, and sometimes you gotta slow down a bit. I would also encourage you to find a catharsis, or two. Like mine was juggling and piano, and also hiking, and yours might be hiking or taking a nature hike or swimming or something. But the number one thing to remember is, I mean, you were created for a purpose, and it may be a bit of a while before that comes to fruition, but it is there. So I just encourage, just don't give up, and just know that you could do what you set your heart and mind.
I 100% agree. My My way of coping and my hobby or catharsis was dolls. I love dolls and I played with dolls and stuffed animals. And that was kind of my little fantasy world that I would escape to kind of regulate. Didn't None of this came about until I got to figure out what was going on. And now what's cool is I can look back at my life and be like, okay, that's why I did that and that and that and that and that. Because it helped me, like you said, it helped me to relax. It helped me to calm down. It brought me some joy. It brought me some happiness. It brought me some peace. Um, that and music. I loved music. I can't play music, Matthew, and I can't sing, but I can listen to it and appreciate it. Just throwing that out there. Um,
Yeah, I can't sing either.
how do you define? Everybody defines success differently, but I think being autistic and because we look at the world so differently, how do you define success as an autistic adult?
Yeah, this is my current definition that I've written, and I would define success as the achievement of getting to the place where you want to be. Success comes with assiduousness and perseverance. Success will look like your passion coming to fruition after years of hard work and dedication. As long as you get to where you want to be in life, and it's something you always strive to do, then this is success.
I love, love, love that. Love that. That's exactly what we have been teaching our son. It's not, about the materialistic things that you have in your house. It's not about money. It's not about fame. It's about getting to where you want to be, whatever that goal is. And it can be the smallest thing. It does not have to be anything grand or big at all. So I love that message of your definition of success. I don't think I could say it any better myself, Matthew. Definitely. Now I know you're working on some talking about success. I know that you've had some recently, including getting into the college program you wanted to get into. So please share with our viewers what it is you're working on right now.
Well, next month I will have all my coursework done for a bachelor's in biochemistry. And then after that, I'll be starting the credential program this fall, and that's a year-long program. And then starting in fall 2022, I'm going to try to take the master's program, which is another year-long program, and that would be a master's of arts in education. So my goal is to be a math and science teacher, and I guess deep down inside, throughout my entire life, I guess I always wanted to not just be a writer, but be a teacher. And that's just been my strong passion.
I think you would make an amazing, amazing teacher, especially since you've basically doing that now, being part of Royal Rangers. You're teaching those boys very important things every day. And aren't you even involved in teaching Bible studies or something like that in your church? Do I remember that correctly? That you do some volunteer work in church as well, besides the Royal Rangers?
Yeah, I do intern at the youth at the Lighthouse Community Church down the street,
Yes. Okay, I thought so. So yes,
teaching.
I think you're definitely gifted. I think the Lord has gifted you with teaching, definitely. So, what is it that you're wanting to teach? Like once you get your degree and you get done with all your internships, what are you hoping to teach? What age group, and is it a certain subject or?
Well, long story short, middle school age, seventh and eighth grade, mathematics, so probably algebra, geometry, and such. I'm willing to teach higher stuff, but I might have to just tutor for that, like trig and calc and such here and there. But that and
Mhm.
then various science disciplines. So I'm hoping chemistry, astronomy, maybe biology or some sub branches of biology.
I'll definitely be continuing to watch your journey on your teaching route and where you end up. I think it's very, very exciting to have more of us on the spectrum in the teaching world because you're not going to be just teaching. You're going to literally be a living, walking example for other children going through those years. Look, I'm on the spectrum, and look what I'm doing with my life. Um, so I think it's absolutely amazing. Simply Jan just put your link up to your book, Matthew. She is a member of Shed Wars, the gardening community that I belong to, and she has shared the link to your book for everybody. The last question I had, and I figured you and I could both discuss it together since we've been doing this collaboration, and we're going to continue to collaborate kind of videos all the way through the month of April, is what do you feel is more important, awareness or acceptance? Or do you feel they both have a place? What's your opinion on that?
The simple answer is yes. I believe that acceptance is more or is better than awareness because, as I've said in the past, you could be aware of something, but you may or may not accept that something. And if I were to make like a qualitative graph or something, like awareness seems to be up here these days, but acceptance isn't that up
Mm-hmm.
there yet. Because again, like you could be aware of something but not accept something. I've followed a friend of mine in the United Kingdom that when he talks about a son being autistic, he says, "My son's autistic." Well, their response is, "Oh, I'm sorry," and they're and he was saying like that's ignorance and such. It's like, but if
Right.
accept this
Like it's a
for,
bad thing that your son's autistic. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, acceptance is huge for me as well, Matthew. Very huge. Another thing I have our issue, just like that father had an issue with that, is when we share that our son is autistic, we go, "Oh, so he's disabled." That makes my skin crawl. It makes me cringe. My son is not disabled. My son is perfectly able. He can do the same things every other kid can do. He just has to go a different way around to get there. He just has to take a different path. You know, he's perfectly able, and yeah, and that's that. It is. It's ignorance, and it's the it's the whole putting us all in one box thing, and yeah, acceptance is it's hard. It's hard. I know a lot of us are definitely pushing harder for acceptance these days, because like you said, you can be aware of something, and but not accept the differences. And differences, neurodiversity is very real. And if people would just accept our differences, we would be in such a better place and not expect us to always act how they think we should act. They should be willing to meet us halfway and come into our world. I think they would learn more about autism and be able to understand autism if they were more willing to come into our world and join us in our world, because our world is wonderful. I think we're very wonderful people. I think we're very artistic and intelligent, and we see things literally through a different lens. I don't know about you, Matthew, but some people, they look at a tree and they see your basics. They see leaves, they see the color, and they may see a little bit of the shape of the tree. When I look at a tree, I see different shades of green. I see different shapes within the leaves. I see different shapes in between the leaves where you can see the sky and just empty space. I see patterns within the tree bark. I don't see just a tree. Does that make sense? And
yeah.
if someone, and it's hard to share that when you're feeling like you're being judged and whatnot. What are your feelings about stemming? Because I allow our son to stem because I'm allowing myself to stem now. So like when I'm in church and I'm feeling overstimulated because maybe the church is really busy and there's maybe more people than usual, or maybe the worship service is a little loud than I can handle and I forgot my earbuds or whatever, I'll mess with my hands. I sway a lot in my videos and lives. I gently rock. I'll play with my hair. Um, I've started allowing myself to do that in public because a lot more times than not, I do get some negativity from it. I'm not going to lie, I do, unfortunately. But the times when I don't, and that person comes to me and asks, "Why are you wearing earplugs during worship service?" Doesn't that negate you being able to hear? It opens up dialogue for me, gives me a chance to advocate and hopefully teach acceptance. So, how do you feel about? I don't know if do you have any stemming that you tend to do, and are you willing to do those stems in public? How do you feel about that, Matthew?
Yeah, well, I like what you're saying. It could be a conversation opener to help spread awareness and then acceptance. I'm trying to remember. I mean, I of course, sometimes in public situations, um, it's kind of hard to explain within seconds, but when a lot of people are around and it's some noises and people walking, rushing back and forth, it sometimes makes you feel dizzy a little bit. But I sometimes just stand at attention, try my best to listen if I'm talking to somebody. Um, and then there's a lot of times I just find myself just standing there, not talking to anybody, not sure what to do, and just I guess standing out awkwardly. It feels like sometimes, but um, I not sure if I have a lot of the stemming, but if if other people do so, I think that could be a conversation opener, like so people could recognize that this is how some of us live and how it helps us to cope
Yeah.
in stressful situations like that.
I totally get what you're saying. One of the issues I have, Matthew, especially like in church and stuff, you know how like when they have the visitor time or the pre-fellowship time before the service starts and everyone's standing around and talking to each other and there's like all those different conversations going on at once. That makes my head swim and I can't I'm hearing all the conversations at once in my head. Like some people, they can just they can filter through and just concentrate on the person in front of them. I can't do that. And so, yeah, a lot of times I'll just stand there and be quiet and it feels very awkward. And I'm just like, a lot of times I do what I call the fight or flight response. And I exit left until it's time to sit down because I can't handle all the conversation. It makes my head swim. And yeah, I get that dizzy feeling that you're talking about and stuff like that. And it's just too much. It overstimulates me. And um, sometimes I can go into a panic. Autism Family says that they allow their children to STEM, that it's their natural way of regulating. That's how I feel about myself and my son. And then maybe Crazy Homestead also said that she lets her kids STEM. She says she realizes that's how they deal with their stress and their anxiety. So I'm trying to see if there's any more questions. Okay, this is Q&A time, everyone. We have Matthew here. He's so lovingly gave us his time and opened up his world to us. So does anyone have any questions for Matthew? And if you do, please type it in all caps so that we can see it. And we will get Matthew to maybe be able to answer any questions you might have. We have 16 people in here right now. And we're also on Facebook at the same time, Matthew. I didn't know if I told you that. I've got this going on my blog. I saw that your mom was in here. I don't know if she's still in here, but I saw her name flash across my screen for a second. So, hello, Miss Kinslow. How are you doing? Let's see, my brother and my sister-in-law is in here. And Voon Child is a friend of mine. She's in here, and she's wearing the same ribbon you're wearing that I made. Oh my gosh, my chat just went crazy. Hang on a second. Here we go. Country Peter says, does he have a channel? It's okay if you're late, Country Peter. You can always watch the replay. That's what I love about YouTube. You can always watch the replay. Yes, he has a channel. If one of my mods can go ahead ahead and post the channel in the chat. So you guys can go ahead and head over there and show Matthew some love and give him a like. And if you like his content, and I don't see how you wouldn't, but I'm biased, go ahead and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell because he does upload videos, and he's going to be uploading videos like I am, his content on that. It's very, very good. And I also have the channel in my description. If you want to go back and go to his channel later, you'll be able to, because I've got it listed there as well. Oh, this one's from my brother, Key fan. Taz is my brother. He says, "How long did?"
Right. I'd say maybe a year. Well, actually, more like months. Just a couple of months, but it took a while for the agent, the publisher, and such. I written most of it in 2017.
Simply Jan says she is wearing. Are you wearing it on your live, Jan? Also, that from your live that you had on today. That was the first thing I noticed. Is from Australia, Matthew. We have someone from all the way from Australia watching our stream right now, and she has some children on the spectrum, and she has we call it a home taking care of the goats. We've had some really good conversations. Okay, here's one from maybe year old during job interviews. He's struggling with getting calls after his interview.
Okay, I remember my first job interview for the fair, and the advice that I would give is just come early and come prepared and just take a deep breath and such, which really helped. And, of course, know that this is a job that you would love to do.
Just you with questions. Do you get offended?
Okay. Well, I mean, I love questions and such. I'm love and willing to answer questions. I don't necessarily get offended unless it's not a real question. If it's like a question trying to narrow me down or something, then I would answer it a different way. But I like questions.
I know for me, it depends. I guess it would depend on how they ask the tone of voice. So I have to be really careful with that. But you can generally tell if someone's questioning just to be like it's a mean question. But if it's a sincere question, I do not get offended. I'd rather them ask me a question because, like Matthew said, it gives us a chance for open dialogue and be able to hopefully help them understand and start accepting the differences that we have. So I hope that answers your. Let me see if there's any more. Okay, Chris. I do realize I don't know why the link to Matthew's book isn't working in my description because I did update it and change it. But Simply Jan did find it, and if Simply Jan, if you're still in the chat, can you go ahead and copy and paste that link one more time in the chat for Chris so he can get to it. All right, checking for any more last bit questions. Oh, here we go. Wait. All right, here we go. This one's from John Dara in Australia. What advice would you give someone who thinks they might be autistic but hasn't been diagnosed?
That's an interesting question. Like what advice I would give is like if you want to go for it to get diagnosed, then I would encourage it because as you were saying, Denise, earlier, is it could take a lot of weight off of you to just knowing
that you're looking for in being diagnosed is also important. So, I've had some people that they know they feel like they may be on the spectrum, but it's just not important. They can get on with their life just fine. And my advice to that person is evaluate how important that answer would be to you. How would you respond if and then once you have those questions answered, make your decision on whether you want to are harder than others to be diagnosed as an adult. So it may not be, even if you want to be diagnosed, it may be difficult for you to get that diagnosis depending on when you're going down that journey. Do you have any last message you would like to share on this special day of April 2nd with our audience?
I would still advise, just not give up on your passions and what you want to do. You have a purpose and a calling. Behind us, there is a heart, there is a mind behind autism and such. So just keep up the good work. And of course, I would recommend learning and standing on the promises of God, because God's always faithful, even if we can't understand what's going on. God is still here with us if we choose to follow Him. I also want to give a quick happy birthday to Albany Plane Spotter. He's a very great plane spotter, airport updates, and all that. So just happy birthday.
That's right. Today is his birthday. Happy birthday, Albany Plane Spotter. Yes, yes, yes. He's got some pretty cool stuff on his channel too. So my sister-in-law says, good job, Matthew. And maybe Crazy Homestead says, I'm going to put this on in case you can't hear me. You are a very special young man. I know you will do amazing things, Matthew. Yes, absolutely. He's already done some pretty amazing things in my book, and I know he's got a lot more coming. I know the Lord is going to use him in some great, great ways. Alicia Dupree, Autism Mom, has children on the spectrum, and if someone would please link her channel on this live chat, that would be wonderful as well. And I think that is it. I was going to get other people up on this panel, but since my audio is really horrible right now, I may have to go off and go back on. I'm not sure. So with that, let me make sure there's anything last minute. Oh, here we go. Thank you for the great interview. What a blessing. Well, thank you, Sandra. We appreciate it. You and your family raising such a wonderful, wonderful young man that's inspiring so many across not just the country, but he's actually reached the globe at this point, including on his own channel. So it's definitely a blessing to many. Voon Child says, it's been a pleasure learning from you, Matthew. Matthew, you are such an inspiration to us all. Yes. Yes, he is. And then the Tinker's Wife says, you did a great interview. Oh, thank you, Gail. I appreciate it. Tinker Wife said, thank you for doing the program here this evening. You're very, very welcome. Thank you for coming. I appreciate all of you guys coming and supporting my dear friend Matthew and supporting our autistic community in celebrating April 2nd with us. Alicia says, very nice young man. Thank you both. You are very, very, very welcome. Yes, he's definitely remarkable. Absolutely. And we have the link to his book. Simply Jan has linked it one more time. I strongly encourage. It's a wonderful, wonderful read, and it's definitely inspirational. So with that, Matthew, I'm going to let you go. Have a great, great Easter with your family, and I will be seeing you again very, very soon through Facebook and through YouTube. And we will see you soon. And always remember, dare to be different, dare to be you, and love from Montana. Bye, guys.